everyone, it's Krista, and we're here at the holding machine. We're going to be doing a monster track tank today. Just a monster tank. We're kind of in a rush to get it out, so we're not going to do a hyper tank with it. And hey, we just got the notification we went live. Cool, and so there I am. Oh, I'm a moderator for the channel. Okay, I can hear myself. And let's get the only upvote and kill out of here. All right. Yay. Okay, put the phone up here where it's safe. All right, so we're going to start our notes. I do a little chart. And so it's HM, MTT. Those are the tanks on the arm. And then the monster gets 9 pounds back. And we're going to do warm up. $530 for 30 minutes. That's 530 degrees Fahrenheit. 30 minutes of fan and demold. So it's out of the logbook, and I'm going to put dashes for the HM because we're not doing the HM. MTT 43, number 124. Okay. And what is ambient temperature? Ambient. There's no way it's 72 degrees. There we go, 60. 57. Okay, it's 57 degrees in here. I keep track of these temperatures in case we ever have like an unsuccessful run, and then we're going to, if that happens, then what we do is look at the information, the facts that we gathered, and figure out what to do different. But so far, we've been really consistent with how we run the bakes, and that has been very good to us. Now we're going to play with, why aren't we loosening this? Did it break altogether? Oh, no, it just, okay. So you're not only on a tripod, but you've got like a 3-foot brass stick, and you're at the end of the stick. Okay, we're going to turn you around. How are we turning you around so that you can see? All right, how's that? Oh, cool, you can see tables. Actually, you could probably even angle down a little bit more. Oh, that should work. Okay. So the top, well, this is just weird. These are the molds that bolt to the bottom mold that's on the frame. And so before we forget, why don't we go ahead and change out the date dial to 23. So we have a prefab ring that's welded in, and it has 1 through 12. And then our date dial is just a bolt with an arrow and 2 numbers. So we just put it in and then we set it to the number of the month that it is. And so we have a small collection of old date dials. In fact, we should have 16 through 23. Well, at least 17 through 23. I don't know. I might have thrown some away. We put this in. And it's just a countersunk. I guess you call it a bolt. I don't know why I'm having so much difficulty. I mean, I just can't see what I'm doing. Sing me a song. Sing me a song of actually screwing on. Thank you. And we point our arrow to 1. And of course, anything that's written on a mold is backwards because it's the impression left in the surface to match it. So everything is mirrored. Perfect. Now, as we're doing this, before we assemble the mold pieces, we want to scrape the old plastic that leaked through the flanges off so that we get the best seal possible. Nothing's perfect, especially with plastic and definitely with rotational molding. So we just try to make sure we do things a best of that we can that's reasonable. By continuously scraping the flanges, we prevent plastic building up because it will keep building up and then it keeps leaking. And then when it builds up, it leaks more because the plastic bends, like the plastic buildup bends the aluminum. And then we get the detritus out from inside. Because old plastic that's cross-linked cannot incorporate or blend or cross-link with the new plastic. So it'd be like having a chunk of sand or dirt. Also, our tanks are not recyclable because they're cross-linked. Once the initial thermoset happens and the molds cool, then what happens? Those bonds don't change. Oh, great. We need to get inserts, but the bin where 6mm inserts are is empty, and then we have to access this box. Oh, Moses, these are heavy. Sort of like a box of ammo. Let's see, I think I have a knife here. I apologize for sniffle snorting in your ear. It's 50 something degrees in here, and it's kind of hard not to get the sniffles when it's cold. And they're in one great big bag. That's fantastic. Oh, that's crazy. It's not even sealed. They just taped it over. That's awesome. So let's take our little bucket here and reach in and scoop some out. So all these insert are is a little piece of brass. It has 6mm threads. It is blind, meaning the back is closed, and it has a square. So the square part is pretty crucial because that makes it resist twisting. So it'll have more torque than if it were a hex or six-sided, and it resists spinning inside the plastic because that gets molded into the plastic. All right, so we need 10 of these M6 inserts. I do all of my counting in little batches. So I got two blobs of 5, and I know I need 3 5mm and 3 4mm inserts. So while I'm over here, I'm gonna grab 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. So the 5s have the exact same outside as the 6, but it has a slightly smaller hole. So that gets annoying. It's like, oh, is this a 5 or a 6? So I keep them a little bit separate. We put the inserts on screws from the outside, and we use springs, and that holds the insert in place. And then as the plastic cools and pulls back from the mold, it can go with the insert, and then it's less likely to warp the tank or put undue force against the insert or the plastic. So the springs help because it lets the plastic pull away from the face with the insert, as opposed to if the screw held it tight against the mold. That wouldn't be ideal. The amount of force when this thing cools and contracts is pretty fantastic, actually. It's like force of nature style stuff. So, I mean, if you let a tank stay in the mold too long and it cools, sometimes the inserts are almost, I won't say impossible to remove, but they put a tremendous side load against the screws because it shrinks in 3 dimensions, and that means it'll pull sideways as well as away from. So we have the frame mount inserts up here. And what these do is the rubber pads that rest on the frame rails of the motorcycle bolt up here. All of our tanks, like all the tanks made in this mold, have the same form. So they all have a 6 screw flange. So we're going to rotate things around to make it a little easier. Can I make you look at this? Ooh, that's awkward. All right, what do I see? What do I see? I'm not seeing it. There we go. There's no light over here because all our lights are going out and we haven't rented something to change them. So why show you that? Because you can't see it. Anyway, what I was showing you back there was a air brake that holds the center shaft in place. Okay. And here we could just kind of put the screws in, or yeah, put the screws in and just let them sit there. So it's a little tricky doing these since you have to reach in from behind where you can't see, no matter which side you're on. You can't see both sides of the mold. Like you can't see the interior and exterior. So sometimes these inserts can get really tricky. But I mean, I've been literally, this is the 124th tank I've made. So I've done this once or twice. We're going to need to run these threads, these screws into a die pretty soon. The threads get a little beat up from getting pulled against and stuff. Now we need the vent tube. So this is just a Teflon tube that has some packing in it. And I kind of screwed up and I didn't. There we go. So this lets the air in and out. And then because it's sort of fibrous, it keeps the powder in while we start the molding process. And I just use stainless steel sink scrub stuff. It works a lot better than steel wool because it's not flammable, and it works better than Scotch-Brite pads because it doesn't melt. If we were in like mass production and really busy and working a lot, we might leave this for 1 or 2 cycles. But this job, like making these tanks, is not about speed. It's about getting the right part every time. Now you want to make sure it doesn't blow out. So I'll just use the whole rest of this pad. Perfect. Except for it's in the wrong end. There we go. One end is a little bit beat up, and that's to help it stay located in the fitting where it goes. Okay. So you can see all the black. That is from the last tank we made. There's this special grease we can buy to help this not stick. I shouldn't say we can buy because we already bought it. That takes time to do, and if I get any in the interior, it wrecks the part. So, I don't want to cause more delays to the customer, so it's just like, get this done. So that's the air. That was the air compressor. We use it to open and close the main doors to the oven. And then when the doors are closed, pistons push the doors against the oven. And those are all pneumatic cylinders. And then we use a pneumatic cylinder to open and close the recirculation damper when the doors are closed or open, respectively. There's no such thing as perfect, but we get pretty dang good with, especially if you compare to the folks in industry who were making our tanks. It's a shock any of them came out good sometimes. But it's just proof that it's a great process because it's easy for anyone to kind of make good parts. Like there are so many things most molders won't care about that I do, and I do every time. Wow, it's really dark in here. Jeez. I was hoping to buy a scissors lift at auction, but they keep going for too much money. Like, I don't mind getting something that's used and abused, but still serviceable, like 1,500, maybe $2,000. And they've kind of all been going for 3 to 6,000. So it's got to kind of keep an eye out for when they come around. There was one that the lower control station didn't work, and that one went for like $2,000. I actually might have gotten it, except for I forgot. It was right in the middle of the holidays. It's probably why it only went for $2,000. I mean, I guess we could rent one. I hate renting something that I sort of want to buy anyway. What I was sort of planning to do when we get a scissors lift and change the lights is take down the fixtures and put up an outlet where each fixture is, and then just dangle LEDs from those. All of the finishing you see inside the molds I did. I did the textures on the sides. I did the polishing in the middle. That was me. Okay. So we grabbed the mold section and a couple bolts. Okay, now we have the big centerpiece. Oh, you can't see here, huh? You can see there. I just don't know what to do with these things. Another mold section or vent, dirt. So the bit that was too small for the larger vent is perfect on this, the smaller vent. The other 3 mold sections are cast aluminum, and the top, the piece I'm working on, originally was cast aluminum. And the folks that were making it, I told them I wanted to polish the tank so it looked like a normal motorcycle. And they neglected to warn me that you can't polish cast aluminum. Well, I mean, you can, but then it gets like this cancerous sort of surface or a whole bunch of zits on it. And you can't help them. There are lots of voids in casting. And when you heat it up and cool it, it changes, like the expansion and contraction ruins your polishing every time, and it exposes these voids. So we used a metrology arm to best replicate the mold and had one CNC'd. And that's what this is. And then I polished it, and then I applied all the textures. I got really good at polishing aluminum. And a little bit of the suck is that when you run the resin, it's a powder. The resin actually scratches the mold. So the polish job only lasts, geez, I don't know, maybe 40 or 50 cycles. And I don't want to polish it too much. The final buff is with a wheel, and that creates waves. No matter what, the power tools create waves. So then you have to come back with a block and sandpaper and wet sand the waves down. So we do that part at the start to take out the scratches, kind of try to block it a little bit. And then we really just don't want to polish too much. But you got to get a mirror. So it's tough. We run all the way up to like 3,000 grit because you have to. Now this we're not going to wipe out with our hands because we will scratch it. So we have a special blowjob tool for that. That in this piece is so big, if you use your mouth to blow like I did on the other pieces, you're going to be doing it so much you end up spitting on it, which is not polish. Additionally, there's mold release applied. So it's sort of like non-stick Teflon, except for it's applied very carefully. It's not just embedded or coated or baked, because if you did that, you wouldn't be able to get the mirror finish. But then also, probably the plastic would end up pulling it off. Because even though it's not stick, you've got to break the vacuum. And so rotational molding tends to undo coatings. So we applied mold release every 10-ish runs. Which kind of sucks because you have to do a whole cycle without making any parts. You get the molds good and hot, and then you apply the stuff while the mold is hot, and you try to not burn yourself. And then so like by the time you do the whole face and you turn around and do the next face and the next face, you can get about 3 rounds in of getting it on, wiping it until it's smooth or still shiny, and then it dries. Then you can come back around and apply, say, 2 more-ish coats. And anywhere you can't get it wiped off, you leave an impression on the customer's part. Me. So this rotational molding machine, the oven, the arm, everything we got from California. It was actually originally made by one of the better molding companies that would make our tanks. And then they made a bigger one, and then a bigger one, and then they sold this baby one that's only 6 feet across. And then that company never did anything with it, sat in their parking lot, and then we bought it from them. My wife will yell at me if I don't put on a back brace. Oops, we forgot 3 inserts. That would have been bad. These are the 3 that hold the ski boot buckle on. And a lot of how I process and store things to do production affects quality. So a lot of molders are fairly disorganized when it comes to handling inserts and their screws. I came up with a process I've never seen anyone use where I keep the inserts for this tool, or the screws for the inserts, in a tray. I keep the bolts for this tool in another tray. Because although the bolts are all the same threads, there are 3 different length bolts employed in the 4 tools we use. Yes, ma'am. Is it okay if it's a little bit? Because I'm trying to get the mold started. Okay. So there's a pin that goes through under the filler cap. And it forms a tunnel through the part. The plastic molds around the pin. Actually, this step is not next. This is last. So you sort of get out of whack when you're not doing this enough. So before you tighten this to hold that pin from the inside to the outside, you have to tighten all the screws first. So having my procedures helps helps minimize the chance to overlook or forget things. Because when we used to have other people make our parts, we would get a tank that was missing some of the inserts. They just weren't there. So this one hole's kind of off and grumpy. There we go. So this is a 3-speed impact. I have it on 2 to tighten, and then I used 3 to loosen. This pin has 2 ways of holding it in. There's a toggle clamp on the bottom, and then it threads through to the screw on the top. This pin is for the mount. So this goes through between the rider's legs. There's a mount on the frame, and a screw goes through it. I made both of these pins because the other pins were just not reliable. And it really sucks when you have a great tank, except for the way the pin was designed. You get an air leak and then the tank's bad. All right, so the next phase is we're going to start rotating the arm. We're going to start the oven, open the doors, pull the oven over the arm, get it heated up to about 150 in the oven, and that'll get this near 100 degrees, and that's all Fahrenheit. Oops, I'm sorry, I just thumbed you guys in the face. There's limit switches to stop the travel. Now what can you see? So I'm looking at your monitor. What happens when you... All right, that's the control panel right there. We're going to start the oven, get it kicked off. I'd move you around, except for then we might screw up our signal and damage the stream. Loud noise. Okay, now let's see what we can do for you to watch while I am going to right there, and we're going to weigh out the shot for this tank. We're going to put the resin in a bucket. And we're going to put 9 pounds of powder in that bucket. And you'd be able to see what I'm doing, except for 5 sets of lights are out. We buy 900 pounds of powder at a time from Exxon. We have our scale. We zero it or get the tear weight. And I'm going to point it at me, not you, so I can see what I'm pouring in. So what I'm going to do first is just kind of try to get a good scoop. Not quite enough. So my good scoop is 9.45 pounds. Let's ungood to make better. 9.35. Wow, 9.01. Perfect. Take it off the scale so I don't accidentally knock it onto the floor again. I've done that. A lot of folks will come work for us or be an assistant or something. And it's like, don't worry about making mistakes, because I promise you will not make any mistake that I have not already made my own self. Did we not get our burner on? We did not. Or did we? Maybe my lights burned out. No, we did not get a burner. Well, that's unfortunate. So there's a flame controller inside this box. And it's what finally turns on the burner itself. Like it'll open the valves to the pilot, and then once it sees flame via the UV detector, then it enables us to open the throttle on the main burner. So once we throw it to turn on the pilot, it waits 43 seconds to purge. Something's not happening. Hmm. And so the whole system has a whole bunch of checks before it allows things to turn on. And so can you see these green lights? What do you see? Oh, yeah, they're right in the middle of this beam. And so we have a light once the safety train is complete. And that's a whole bunch of sensors to say we're all ready to go. And the safety train is good, but we're not getting it to light off. Okay, we're going to need to go investigate. Well, I guess I'm going to end the live stream because our oven broke. There's something wrong in the control circuits. I just need to see who's getting which signal and who isn't, and then just half step through back to what's going on. Um, Need to check the theory of the burn controller. It has a silly name. What is that? The fire eye. Yeah, so I need to make sure that the fire eye is sending the voltage to the ignition, and then that the ignition is firing the spark plug. Typically, that's sort of what would go wrong right now. In my estimation, is that something's missing in that circuit, so I have to chase down wires with 115 volts. No biggie, but I'm gonna go away. And thanks for watching, and I'll update when I get some resolution.